Well, hello, friends. Welcome to this recording. My name is Laura Leese, and I am a spiritual director. And today I am joined by my colleague, Kelly Tan. Kelly joins us from Singapore today. It's my evening and her morning. And I'm just delighted to introduce you to her today. I've known her for a couple years. And Kelly has a brand new website as she is launching her business in full force at this time. So Kelly, thanks for being here today for our interview. I wonder if you would share more about yourself, about how you approach spiritual direction and all the other parts of what you bring into that kind of session.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for having me and inviting me to your interview series. I started, actually, my background, I come from, most of my time in my life, I have been in the corporate. And I come into the helping industries by chance, and it started with like, I was taking a sabbatical. I get the calling from God, always pulling me out from the corporate. I do not know why. It doesn't make sense. I struggle. There was a time where I got out, and during my getting out, I keep on encountering people, my ex-colleagues, friends, and people. Sometimes even I met for the first time, start pouring out their problems to me. And when they pour out and I ask a few questions, they start to tears. Until one of them asked me to be a counselor. I didn't see that myself. They saw that in me. And and she even find causes for me to take when I say I'm not qualified. And that gets started my reflections and wondering where should I go into that field. It took me some time to really get into there. And I was a little time in and out of the corporate and was doing my job and then still doing my course part-time. And then I started off really on a part-time basis as a counselor. Yeah. And I started in a counseling ministry in my church. When it comes to my church ground, it's very easy. You are in I'm Catholic. You are in a Catholic church. I can refer to the Bible. But when I start my practice out there, and Singapore is very sensitive when it comes to religion. We have people, we have Muslim, we have Buddhist, Hindu. So we have to be I have to be very careful. I do counseling also in a halfway house for people out from prisons because of drugs, and they will be in a halfway house before going out to the world. And there is a Muslim organization. So I have to hold back. I can't talk about. It's so sensitive that I dare not to use the word Allah or God or things like that,
Sure.
Unless they allow me to. So after a while, I started to feel a lot of time I'm holding back myself. And I started to pray to God. I say, hey, can you bring me some Christian clients? In his generosity, he brought me 3 Catholic, some lapsed Catholic, and a challenging period of their life. And one of them, with their permissions and allow me to talk, and I started to work with her. And she's back to church. And that was part of her healing process. And I was so beautiful, and it's so life-giving. So that started me to get my interest aroused to take spiritual direction as one of the course. So and I just went all the way and took another master's degree in Christian spirituality, in spiritual direction, concentration. And then right now, I graduated last May, and it was during the COVID time that I did that. And after finishing it, I just find that how I'm good. I was like pondering, how do I integrate it into a practice? Yeah. And when I did that, I just realized that it is not this or that. We are just one person. And it can be healing and supporting and helping, can be an integrated service and with a very holistic approach. So I started with, you need to heal with me, myself included, carries wounds from the past. And if the wound is bleeding inside, I can't connect to myself and to the divine within, because it blocks. I need to heal the wound. And then I will approach to, after healing the wound, to find out what we are all created very uniquely. And what is the unique part of us God created us to be? All right. And with that, we can be a star that sparkles in that particular of who we are, who we really are. Or Thomas Merton will say that your true self, right? So I don't need to live in the world standard by the world and leading up to burnout, depressions, anxiety, because it's very tiring to wear the mask or wear the shoe of another person that it doesn't fit, and it's very difficult to walk the path. And I've been in the corporate world. I even heard story people die on the job, literally. And it's very sad. I have seen people having depressions, and it's sad, and that's not the way to live. So I will, in my website, I start to say, living can be easy. Living can be joyful. And I came to the third part, whereby I think spiritual direction is a very good way as a continuous practice to how do I say, a continuous support for the clients. And the spiritual practice, whatever your faith is, to come and support you in your emotional health, in your mental health, although it's called spiritual directions. But I like the phrase that we are a spirit having a human experience.
Indeed.
Yes. So get the spirits right, and you go to the world with a very, very different approach. Bring your whole true self, who you really are, who God created you to be, out to the world. And that way you can shine. So so I thought that part of spiritual direction, your spiritual practices, your prayer life, that is very important. Even you find out who you are, because we are still out in the world, and the world is whereby there are temptations. There are people, the way they talk, the way they behave are different, so how do we keep it to who we are and not just to follow? It's so easy, right? I also want that, do I need another branded goods to define who am I, or just be who really I am?
Beautiful.
So that's why I call my practice homecoming, a journey to wholeness. So it's something like it's coming home to who you really are. and it's to be free to who you can be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely. Kelly, thank you. You are glowing. Such excitement. I can just see how life-giving this work is for you. I want to comment too that you studied for that master's degree in spirituality long distance from Singapore to the Loyola University, Chicago, you know, in our central time zone here in the United States, and you're up at 4 in the morning your time. I mean, I know the commitment you made. So I just wanted to mention that you studied really Ignatian spirituality through this Jesuit-based university here. So it's just amazing the learnings that you were able to do long distance during COVID. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. I'm so glad I attended this course because it made me, of course, I'm a Catholic for the last like 20 years. Yeah, but getting deeper into the knowing the beauty of the Christianity and a deeper level it's just so wonderful. It's really awesome, you know. And I come from a Franciscan parish all my Christian life, and then going to the Ignatius, and then you study a lot of so many mystic and the traditions. As Catholic, it's such a broad spectrums of different charism carried by each different orders. Yeah, and I thought simply beautiful. And interestingly, in my course, I get very in touch. I get what speaks to me. Another tradition is the Taoism. Yeah, the philosophy of the Taoism, they are so beautiful. I know Taoism since I was young. I go to the Taoist temple with my family before I got converted and all that. But I didn't know about the beauty of the writing of the Tao Te Ching and the Zhuangzi, and they're so beautiful. And I just feel it is talking so much like go with the flow. Yes, you know, not about resistance. Look at how water flow.
Yes.
Yeah, and it just always remind me of the water will run round or go over the rock and all that, you know, they don't resist. And I just find it just go along with what I want to live by and how I wanted to promote as well, you know. In this case, this world can be quite chaotic, right? Yeah, and I find it is not against the Christian teaching, because we are always discerning about God's movement, so we can flow with it. And how do we go and move around with it? Yeah, and live it out in the world.
Indeed. I so appreciate, Kelly, how nothing is wasted from your background, which I think is not uncommon when we sit with someone in spiritual direction. We're pulling from all these different parts of our lives, even from when we're very young, from perhaps our corporate background, all the different teachings and all those modalities you've been learning. You bring it all with you, and whatever seems to be appropriate when you're meeting with someone at that moment. So Kelly, I'm curious if you could share with us next, what might a typical session in spiritual direction look like for someone sitting with you?
Quite commonly I asked the directives to start the prayer. So sometimes it allows them to get into what they are coming into the sessions for. Another time, sometimes I start to play with a hymn or tese to set the mood. Yeah, to just settle down, you know, like collecting themselves into the sessions. Yeah. quite often I have spiritual directors telling me, oh, that speaks to me. The one I sort of like selected. I say, yeah, I woke up this morning and I thought, what am I going to start with the sessions? And then this hymn come to my mind. And then I say, yeah, it speaks to me. And I think a lot of time in the sessions, the ultimate spiritual director is the Holy Spirit. And I just be very mindful, get myself out the way so that the Spirit can work, and there will be, and allow it to flow between both of us. Yes. So there will be things what they have gone through the past month, and then it's like following up, and they share their story. Some will share more, of course, some will share not as much. Then that is something like you started to find out more. And but quite typically they have quite a lot to share. And then I would just listen, and some of them will be like, oh, it's so good to get it out of the chest. So I like to practice what I call holy listening. Yes, be there, be present for them, open the space, sacred, and make it a very safe place for them to just be themselves, be who they are really, and do the sharing. Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So Kelly, is it typically once a month for an hour? Is there a typical rhythm when you're meeting with folks?
Yes, it's once a month per 1 hour. I meet in Singapore. I meet in person, or in America, I met over the Zoom. So yes, in Singapore, because it is not as what do I say? It's not so much as US to go for spiritual directions.
Sure.
But I do get my clients from retreatants. I serve in a retreat center, the Franciscan Retreat Spirituality Center in Singapore, and as a spiritual director. So I do encourage them to continue with spiritual direction after the retreat, and some of them do come back to me to continue spiritual direction. So I do get my directives from there. And in America, and I think it's just, I just thanks God and to give me affirmations that when I was in the States last year, I got people, I encountered people, and one of them just asked me to be his spiritual director.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So
great.
So that was nice. And interestingly, I also have clergy who asked me to be a spiritual director, and I like, oh wow. Yeah. So that is I think these are all, to me, whether I'm doing the counseling or do spiritual directions, I just remind myself, these are people that God sent to me, and right in front of me. I'm his instruments. I just do what he wants me to do. Yes. Yes. And in my experience with in my counseling, I do experience like somewhere like, oh my God, what I have to do? I'm going to deal with this. This person is going round and round. And then the next thing I know what to say. How to respond, how to work with this person, how to guide this person along the way, So I always feel guided.
Yes. Beautiful.
In my sessions. Yes.
In your sweet spot, as they say, that this work it calls you. So Kelly, If somebody listening to this interview today wanted to connect with you, how would they reach out to you?
The best thing is through my website. I have this website called homecomingjourney.com. Homecoming again is like coming home to yourself. All right. We are all on the way home. So that is the way, and I think there's a contact by emails. I think emails is the best way. Because sometimes I have calls. We have these scam calls.
Sure.
Which sometimes it's like I do not know whether to pick up or not to pick up, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think the emails is the best. I will respond it. It was come to me and I will respond it. And for spiritual directions, it's good to just meet up once. I'm giving the first sessions complimentary just to find out our connections. How well do we connect with each other? Yeah. And I offer it free of charge for the first time. Yes.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Just to touch base. Yeah.
Kelly, is there anything else you want us to know before we end our time together today?
I just no, I think we cover quite a lot, but I just wish to I just pray that I just trust that this people will come where they need to be. And I just feel recently I just got touch base with people in the corporate world again, and I find that there's so much they're so tired and always fighting for time. And I just find that and some of my ex-colleagues are struggle with their children growing up, and they're missing the years they're growing up, and like lots of regrets. So I was hoping these people can come for at least doing some, can you work on it earlier in their life, rather than later, knowing their priorities, and will not get so worked up in their life, and where the mental health issues has gone up. I hope people will go and seek help. It's worth it. And for a lot of time, people, there is this fear. I know inner journey can be painful, can be difficult, but I just have the last word to say, it's worth it. Freedom is worth walking the journey towards too. Yes.
Amen. Kelly, thank you so much for sharing about yourself. And we want to just encourage folks listening in to check out Kelly's website. She's got a lot of lovely material there. You have this lovely blog, just a lot of great writing there as well. And if you want to be in touch with Kelly, please fill out that contact form and she'll be back in touch with you. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you.